Welcome back to The Explainer. We're diving straight into an absolutely mind-bending cross-cultural collision today. Picture this. It's November 25th, 725 AD. We've got two completely distinct worlds slamming together. On one side, the rugged, hyper-practical Viking seafarers. On the other, the incredibly precise, spiritually driven Mayan civilization at Chichen Itza. Today we're zooming in on a single, pivotal day that kicked off with some massive astronomical revelations and wrapped up with a genius strategic pivot. So buckle up, because this is a story of how literally reading the stars can dictate the movement of entire armies.
I mean, it's the ultimate setup, right? What actually happens when Viking ocean navigators meet Mayan celestial masters? Think about it. You've got the Vikings, folks whose sheer survival hinges on reading the stars just across these freezing open oceans. They're absolute masters of the tangible, the physical journey. And suddenly they're standing face to face with the Mayans, a people looking up at the exact same sky but seeing something totally different. They see the will of the gods, the timing for agriculture, the perfect moment for war. When these two wildly different philosophies collide, the result is, well, it's nothing short of awe-inspiring.
Okay, let's dive into this and meet the heavy hitters the Vikings were introduced to that morning. Their guide, Kubalu, brings out three highly distinguished Mayan experts. First up, we've got Chichen. He's the revered jaguar high priest, radiating this quiet, intense authority, wearing a single, intricately carved jade jaguar claw around his neck. Then there's Itza, the master of celestial movements. He's the older, deeply thoughtful guy mapping the sun and stars, carrying a rolled parchment. And finally, Kan, the yellow bird. She's the younger, razor-sharp keeper of knowledge, identifiable by a polished obsidian disc. She's the scribe meticulously recording all this heavenly wisdom. Just meeting these three, the Vikings instantly realize they're dealing with a seriously sophisticated intellectual hierarchy.
So these guides escort our Vikings to a structure that pretty much shatters all Viking architectural logic. It's called El Caracol, the observatory. Imagine a massive coiled stone shell rising right out of the earth. It stands in such stark contrast to all those sharp, angular pyramids around it. Here, Chichen explains they actually use this building to commune with what they call celestial jaguars. See, to the Mayans, the heavens aren't just, empty space. It's a living, breathing tapestry woven by the gods themselves. Through these super precise, deliberate window alignments in this coiled building, the Mayans can read the divine will just by tracking the sun, the moon, and the wandering stars. It is literally an architectural machine built to decode the universe.
Now, what's genuinely wild about this is how the Mayans actually pull off this ultra-precise tracking. It's mind-boggling, really, because they do it with absolutely zero metal instruments and no polished glass lenses. This completely threw Randvig, who, being a super practical Viking, knew their own healers use polished glass to magnify small things. So she just flat out asks, how on earth are you seeing so clearly without a lens? The answer is just phenomenal. Their eyes are rigorously trained, their minds are keen, and the stone itself is perfectly aligned. They essentially turned a massive stone building into a pinpoint-accurate telescope using nothing but geometry and pure human discipline.
Which brings us to the million-dollar question. What exactly are they looking at with all this intensity? Itzamno steps up with his parchment and reveals the main event. No-Ek, the great star. We know it as Venus. He points out how specific windows in El Caracol are designed exclusively to measure her exact journey, rising as the morning star and setting as the evening star. But listen, this isn't just about astronomy for the sake of science. This is about absolute power and survival. The path of Venus dictates the exact times for planting crops, for the harvest, and most intensely, for war. Their entire society is operating on the rhythm of this one wandering star.
And honestly, this perfectly captures the massive cultural divide here. For the Vikings, reading the stars is a purely practical gig. It's all about ocean navigation. It's simply how you get from point A to point B without dying at sea. But for the Mayans, reading the stars means predicting the very will of the gods. It tells you when to eat, when to plant, and when to march out and conquer your enemies. The Vikings use the sky to move. The Mayans use it to rule. It's a profound, fundamental shift in perspective for these seafaring explorers, and it really forces them to rethink everything about how they navigate this new world.
This overwhelming realization hits Ragnar, the Viking leader, like a ton of bricks. As he's listening to these complex calculations and the sheer accuracy of the Mayan predictions, you can see the gears turning. He turns to his companion Christina and mutters this incredibly profound realization. He says, "They chart the heavens like a warrior charts a battlefield. With such precision, they must know the very breath of the gods." Well, just think about the weight of that for a second. You have a battle-hardened Viking warrior recognizing that the Mayans apply the exact same ruthless, meticulous strategy to astronomy as he does to warfare. He finally grasps the absolute strategic depth of the civilization he's dealing with.
And the intensity only ramps up from there. Next, the guides take them over to the Venus platform. This is a low, square structure entirely covered in these intricate carvings of the feathered serpent Kukulkan. This is where the high priest's voice takes on this deep, spiritual resonance. He explains that the platform honors Kukulkan in his celestial form as Venus, the bringer of dawn. But it gets a lot darker. These cycles of Venus are intimately tied to the rhythm of life and death, to the timing of their sacred and often totally deadly ball games, and, as we touched on, the brutal realities of warfare.
Now, this whole concept is almost too alien for a Viking warrior to just swallow. It prompts this brilliant, totally relatable question from a Viking named Sven Loki. He's been quietly taking all this in, and he finally just blurts out, "So, the star tells them when to fight, not the strength of their arms?" I mean, for a Viking, your worth and your victory depend 100% on your own physical strength, your shield wall, your courage, right? The idea of sitting around waiting for a star to give you permission to attack is just baffling. But Itzamnabalam's answer is simple. The stars reveal the will of the gods, and their strength comes from following that will. It's a completely different paradigm of power.
But here's the thing. The Mayans aren't just looking to the future. They are meticulously recording the past. The scribe, Kanmu, finally speaks up. Her voice is clear, super precise, as she points to glyphs carved directly right into the platform. Guys, these aren't just pretty decorations. This is hard data. They record the exact dates of Venus's past appearances and explicitly link them to major historical events. And there's this really beautiful moment noted in the source text, a shared, silent look that passes between Kanmu and the Viking woman, Christina. Across this massive cultural barrier, they share this sudden, mutual understanding of the immense, world-shifting power of actually recording knowledge and data.
Now, all this astronomical and cultural revelation isn't just neat trivia for Ragnar. He's a leader. Leaders have to make tough calls. So, after a quiet meal and a day of pretty profound discovery, Ragnar gathers his crew that evening. He recognizes the marvel of the city, sure, but he also sees a stark logistical reality. Their massive group is a huge resource drain on their Mayan hosts. So he executes a really bold tactical pivot. First, to reduce that burden, they have to split up. Second, Haakon is going to take the seafaring crew back to the ship, sail to Ikob, and brief the alliance leaders on their progress. Finally, Ragnar himself will push further north with a much smaller group, trying to find the remnants of a great cataclysm, this place known as the Scarred Earth.
Let's break down exactly how Ragnar divides his forces for this critical next phase. The sea route is going to be led by Haakon. He's taking the guide Kubalu with him to guarantee clear communication, and they are heading back to Ekabam. Meanwhile, the northern trek is going to be this lean, highly capable elite crew. Ragnar takes his top warriors and 2 new guides, pushing way deeper into the unknown, specifically heading toward places called Zimmelchaltun and Xkambi. The ultimate plan is to rendezvous later near Xkambo. It's such a decisive move, it takes their grand, slow procession and immediately turns it into 2 agile, highly purposeful missions.
Which brings us to the end of this incredibly consequential day, with a massive decision hanging in the air. The Vikings go to sleep that night feeling this mix of raw excitement and the solemn weight of this new strategy. And that leaves us with the ultimate question. How exactly will this divided journey into the unknown reshape their understanding of the Scarred Earth? They've just learned how the Mayans read the sky, so what in the world is Ragnar's group going to find when they read the scars left on the land itself? It is a brilliant pivot from the celestial right down to the terrestrial. Thank you so much for joining me on The Explainer today. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and I'll catch you in the next one.